to the point where it was him or me. There was a part of me that was dying.
Intimate portrait, Lynda Carter. Don't touch that remote. Intimate portrait, Lynda Carter is next. After Unsolved Mysteries, watch Leslie Ann Warren in the premiere of Willing to Kill at 9 on Lifetime. Next on Intimate Portrait, hosted by Meredith Vieira.
I'm Meredith Vieira, and this is an intimate portrait of Lynda Carter. She could deflect bullets with her bracelets, get the truth with her lasso, and fly around in an invisible plane. Of course, that was only when Lynda Carter was playing Wonder Woman. Later, when Lynda had to stand by her husband through a harrowing ordeal, she needed to rely on her own inner strength. Good thing that even off-screen, Lynda is a Wonder Woman in her own right. Please join Mary Hart for a personal look at the life of Lynda Carter.
Former Miss USA Lynda Carter skyrocketed to fame in the 1970s when she became the first female superhero to hit the television screens.
I had $25 left in my savings account, and my agent said, "Hello, Wonder Woman."
Wonder Woman was an important ingredient for young girls. You know, they wanted to be her. She was strong, independent, not married.
But behind the scenes, Lynda's marriage to her manager, Ron Samuels, was tearing her apart.
I had to get to the point where it was him or me. There was a part of me that was dying.
After ending the relationship, Lynda met the man of her dreams, attorney Robert Altman. She happily left the spotlight of Hollywood, only to fall into the glare of a multi-million-dollar banking scandal that threatened to destroy her family.
I said, well, Lynda, if for whatever reason the trial goes against us, I'm in prison and you're on the street.
I didn't know how our family was going to be or how we could live without Robert.
Through adversity and heartache, Lynda's strength and determination triumphed, proving her to be a real-life superhero.
She's amazing. She's just amazing.
I'm Mary Hart. Please join me for an intimate portrait of a truly wondrous and inspiring woman, my friend, Lynda Carter. Lynda Jean Carter was born on July 24, 1951 in Phoenix, Arizona. She was the youngest child of 3 children born to Colby and Jean Carter.
Growing up in Phoenix was an adventure. We used to get these great picnics together, and we'd find a place on the bank of the Verde River. We'd get these big old inner tubes, and we'd rope them together and just go floating down the river.
My father was he just loved driving, and he loved the outdoors. He loved taking us on all those little excursions.
While Colby fostered the children's sense of adventure, Jean Carter encouraged their interest in the arts.
My mother was the single most powerful influence on my choice of career. She loved music and loved to dance and always had music going. She saw talent in me and encouraged it.
My mom would always get us to, all the relatives would gather around and, okay, Pam and Lynda, let's do this skit or do that skit. And so we just had a blast.
I think my fondest memories were of my Hispanic upbringing on my mother's side. My mother had 9 brothers and sisters, and all of them had big families. And it was a lot of homemade Mexican food where the kids would be all gathered to sort the beans and to do the masa on the tamales. And there was always music and fighting and lots of laughter and the Latino feel that was just so full of love and warmth and a sense of family.
In 1961, at the age of 10, Lynda's home life began to unravel when she realized her parents had grown unhappy in their marriage.
Parents had a very passionate relationship, I guess you could call it. Either whether they were getting along or if they weren't getting along. It was very volatile. You know, I can remember at times at night where we would just get in bed together and just hold each other. And when our parents would be fighting at night.
My favorite place was the closet in the corner where I could pretend I was lost in a forest.
Unable to reconcile their differences, Jean and Colby decided to divorce. Lynda, Pamela, and Vincent remained with their mother and moved to a different neighborhood, a poorer neighborhood.
She was just graduating from grammar school. Her father and I split up. It was very devastating for the 3 children.
Money was tight, and my mother had to go to work. So she went to work at Motorola, you know, regular old assembly line stuff.
The family's new lifestyle impacted Lynda in ways she did not expect.
I had been rejected by the X Club, which is a debutante-type club.
The kids in high school wouldn't allow Lynda to join this exclusive club because our parents weren't wealthy. And I said, Lynda, there's going to be a day when they're going to be the ones they're going to be wanting you in that club.
And she held me, and then of course made me cry more because I was trying not to, acting like it wasn't going to affect me. It's okay, when it really was, you know, hurtful.
Lynda found comfort through singing and focused her energy on developing her natural talent. At 14, she joined a local band called The Relatives.
We sang at the college hangouts. I started singing 3 nights a week in the back where they served beer.
That's the first time I ever really saw her on stage, you know, with a microphone, and it's pretty shocking when you see your sister in heels, you know, with her hair done and standing on stage, and boy, you know, then you really knew that she was going to go somewhere with that.
Lynda always did a great job, had a good rapport with the audiences. And I think Lynda just all around just captured people.
Lynda's beautiful singing voice gathered her a following. At the age of 17, she joined a band called The Garfin Gathering and went on tour.
We went from Phoenix, we went to the Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas. It was great. I knew I was doing what I wanted to do.
You got to give my mom some credit for that, and that, you know, she allowed her to pursue her dream, which, you know, is amazing. A lot of parents would not have allowed their daughter to go sing in a nightclub, you know, at 17.
She was very level-headed, and she has a good head on her shoulders. There wasn't really anything for me to worry about.
I left no room. It wasn't an argument. I guess I seemed capable of taking care of myself.
After 3 years, Lynda tired of life on the road and returned home to Phoenix. Her sister Pam suggested she try something new.
Miss World USA pageant was coming up in Arizona, and I just encouraged her to try out for it.
My mother said, yeah, and you know, pretty soon you'd be too old to do it. You ought to do it now. Here I am, like 20.
Lynda entered the Miss Arizona contest, and to her surprise, she won. It wasn't long before she found herself amongst other hopeful contestants from around the country, competing for the title of Miss USA.
We were in the contest together, but we really didn't take it very seriously. And many of the contestants were die-hard contestants. They had been in them since they were very young. And Lynda was in it to gain exposure because of her career, and I was in it to get some money to go to school.
I was a little intimidated because a lot of these girls had tons of money on wardrobe and had been preparing and had professional manicures and, you know, all this stuff. And I had none of that.
We all knew very early on that she was going to win because Lynda has a very strong presence. I can remember Bob Hope saying, well, now when the winner is actually crowned, you need to step this way. And Lynda said, now where do you want me to step? And we all kind of laugh about that.
Lynda's optimism was rewarded when she was crowned Miss USA in September of 1972. As expected, she went on to compete in the Miss World competition in London.
I went to England, and I didn't win that, which was really good for me. I evidently was just unbearable. I think that I was, I think I probably went to my head a little bit.
She started acting like the Queen of Sheba, you know, when she walked in, and we started bowing down to her. Okay, Queen, what does a queen want? And she quit.
With the exposure of 3 pageants under her belt, Lynda set her sights on an acting career and embarked on the adventure of a lifetime.
My father had, over all the years of my being on the road, had made me send him every other check that I got. So when I was done, I had a little nest egg in which to move to L.A.
Lynda was always a free spirit, made up her mind what she wanted to do, and she did it.
21-year-old Lynda Carter was about to live a dream come true. She could never have imagined what wonders were in store for her next.
I didn't know what road I was going to take, but I knew that I simply was going to do it. It wasn't a question of if, it was only a question of how.
This is an intimate portrait of Lynda Carter. I'm Mary Hart. In 1974, 23-year-old Lynda Carter was living in Los Angeles, determined to distinguish herself amongst thousands of other aspiring actresses.
I met Lynda Carter when we both were in Charles Conrad's acting class. So I thought I had died and gone to heaven when he said, "This is your acting partner."
I got an agent and tried out for a million things, went on a million things, and, you know, cold readings never got anything.
After months of struggling, Lynda's money was running out. A producer named Doug Kramer was fighting a different battle, trying to make a new television series called Wonder Woman.
Well, Wonder Woman was a very famous comic book, which was published for years. And in the late 60s, Gloria Steinem, in the middle of the women's liberation movement, did a revisionist text of Wonder Woman, which came out with the old original cartoons and a long essay which spoke of the importance of Wonder Woman to girls growing up in the 40s, 50s, and 60s in America. I had put Batman on the air when I was at ABC, and I had a special affinity for that kind of camp comic classic. And the question was then, how do we find a Wonder Woman?
I went on this Wonder Woman audition, and I'm sitting out there, mind you, with Jaclyn Smith, Farrah Fawcett, Kate Jackson. You know, we were all going on the same things.
We had looked at every single actress that was out there. We looked at bionic women, at former about-to-be angels. We just couldn't find someone who embodied all the things. Wonder Woman is a woman who combines intellect, beauty, and great physical skills.
You've got to realize I have done nothing, and this is a lead in a series. I had $25 left in my savings account, and I was going to have to figure out something to do. I got the call from my agent, and I was in my bedroom, and I'll never forget it. And my agent said, "Hello, Wonder Woman."
In her portrayal of the heroine, Lynda was determined to make the character her own.
I made up my mind early that I was going to treat her, the character, as a regular person and not as a superhero. That I was going to give her a sense of humor, that I was going to give her a self-deprecating sense of humor.
She wanted Diana Prince to be a compassionate leader. And that's the message she wanted to get across.
As Gloria Steinem wrote in her essay, Wonder Woman was wise, beautiful, brave, and explicitly out to change a world torn by the hatreds and wars of men. On November 22nd, 1975, Lynda Carter brought her to life in the ABC pilot movie.
Stand back. Now, what's your story, lady?
Story? Well, I know a few myths, but...
Oh, a joker, huh? Okay. Suppose we start with your name.
Wonder Woman.
Sure. That's the last name, Woman. First name, Wonder, right?
It was just the most amazing experience. I felt like I was in a dream.
The girls at work, one of them said to another one, said, oh, her daughter's in Wonder Woman, you know. And this girl said, well, what part did she get? And she said, Wonder Woman.
Well, the next day, I went to lunch with a friend after it aired, and walked down the street expecting people to recognize me. You know, nobody.
Lynda's anonymity didn't last long. The series was picked up, and almost overnight, Lynda Carter became a household name.
That's not just your sister anymore. That's, you know, she, in a sense, belongs to the public as well.
It's so heady, and then you have so many people around you telling you how great you are. You can find yourself only surrounded with people that work for you, without any exterior friendships, without any normal life.
On the set of Wonder Woman, Lynda met manager Ron Samuels, who represented Lindsay Wagner. Lynda was swept off her feet by Ron, and he quickly became not only her manager, but her boyfriend as well.
He was very charming, and I I was working a lot. I didn't have a lot of time to think. I fell in love with him, and I thought this was the right thing.
I really didn't think she should marry him. I didn't really like him for a husband for.
Kind of got myself in too deep too quickly, and the night before, or the day before, I was supposed to get married. I called a friend of mine and said, I don't want to do this.
Putting her misgivings aside, Lynda married Ron Samuels on May 27, 1977. It wasn't long before her friends and family began to worry that Ron was manipulating Lynda to his advantage.
It was very apparent that Lynda was doing all the work, and he was kind of along for the ride. And although I think he had convinced her that, you know, he was her knight in shining armor.
He was guiding and manipulating her and her career. It's very easy for a more sophisticated man, a man more sophisticated in the ways of Hollywood and of the business. It's very, very hard to come from virtually nowhere and be turned into a star. And Lynda was on magazine covers left and right. She was wanted in Vegas.
He was good at what he did. I later found out that there was a little subversion going on there. For instance, that he wouldn't let me do a magazine cover unless he was on it with me, stuff like that.
For better or worse, Ron Samuels was guiding Lynda's career, and he was eager to broaden it beyond Wonder Woman and the form-fitting costume that had become her trademark.
She was Wonder Woman. That was her notoriety. And when she would show up for a photo shoot, not in the uniform, they'd get outraged. Lynda didn't want to get into it, and her husband, most of all, didn't want to get her into it.
Ron's desire to broaden Lynda's appeal led him to her first love, singing. Together, he and Lynda created 5 outstanding musical specials.
It was probably the thing I enjoyed doing the most, were those specials. It was the most creative, because I just had a free rein in what I wanted to do.
Although Lynda was enjoying a successful TV series and a fulfilling singing career, her marriage left her feeling empty. She found an outlet for her sorrow in music.
And I would write in the middle of the night, and it was really an important part of getting through the unhappy times. Being able to do this music was probably a big deal saving grace for me during those years.
It's about Dorothy and Toto. It's about me, too.
Don't it feel like paradise? No, how could something be so nice? At least I got company, 'cause Toto, it's you and me, and here we go. But I wanna go home.
I want to go home. I don't like this anymore. All the stuff, and to be so unhappy. I just want to go home.
Lynda Carter was a full-fledged star, but her world was falling apart. The road ahead would bring many difficult decisions, as well as a special person who would change Lynda's life for the better.
When you're doing the right thing, the right things happen.
I'm Mary Hart, and this is an intimate portrait of Lynda Carter. By 1977, Lynda Carter was enjoying tremendous success. She'd signed a lucrative modeling contract with Maybelline Cosmetics.
I met with the Maybelline people, and I knew a lot about makeup. And it was one of the first forays with an actress by a cosmetic company.
Wonder Woman moved to CBS and was updated to modern times.
The concept was we're going to do it contemporary. And she'll be the woman from Uncle.
I got an updated costume and got to be wearing regular clothes, and there was a lot more places to go with the storyline. I thought it was good.
The nuclear power plant. Where is it?
It's in the middle of the mountain, surrounded by concrete.
In 1980, after 4 successful seasons on the air, CBS decided to bring Wonder Woman to an end.
I had done it for 5 years, and it was time, but still it hurt to get canceled.
Lynda had emblazoned a lasting image upon popular culture. Wonder Woman would become an important feminist icon.
When you consider all the Supermans that have come and gone and all the Batmans, Wonder Woman clearly was one of the first and certainly one of, if not the first, female action hero to succeed on television.
Well, Wonder Woman was a strong figure for women. It was part of the emerging women's movement, I guess, and here was a woman hero. Right prevailed and wrong failed. It was a symbolic.
With the end of the series, Lynda was free to take a much-needed vacation alone. For the first time, she had the opportunity to reevaluate her relationship with Ron.
I just wanted to be away for 2 or 3 days. I felt so free. I just felt like God. And then to go back into the cage again, I just couldn't do it. He squeezed the soul out of me. My spirit was dampened. I got back to the house and I left a note saying that I was okay, I didn't die or anything like that, but I'd call him later. I know he was very hurt and confused and shocked.
Lynda never returned home, and in 1981, she filed for divorce from Ron Samuels.
I think that Lynda's relationship with Ron really reinforced her attitude about how she had to take care of herself. And while Ron was going to manage her career and do it well, she found out that she had to really rely on herself for that.
I hope he forgives me, and I have forgiven him, because it was painful for both people. And I wish him, honestly and truly, wish him well.
Determined to move on with her life in a positive way, Lynda focused her energy on previous commitments. Little did she realize she was about to meet a very special person.
When I left Ron, I decided to go and start cleaning up all the mess. A lot of the unfinished promises, like to Maybelline and going to their meetings and all the things that had been promised that were never followed up on. I went to Memphis, Tennessee, and I had lunch with the president of the parent corporation, Lee Jenkins, that he knew, a fantastic fellow who was going to be at this dinner.
Lynda walked in looking spectacular, and I went, most interesting person at this party. So I got up, introduced myself, and that was it.
I meet this young, dashing guy who was so charming and everything, and intense. And we sat next to him at this dinner party, which I think he willed the person not to sit next to me. He waited, then he sat next to me.
Lynda was very different than whatever stereotype I had in mind. Very down to earth. warm and funny and interesting, not pretentious, not playing the star. We hit it off immediately.
She called me and she said, now I've met the man that I think I'm really going to love the rest of my life.
I was aware of Wonder Woman when we met, but I had never seen the program. I checked it out soon afterwards to see who I was dealing with.
Robert and Lynda's relationship blossomed, but with his successful law firm in Washington, D.C., and her Hollywood lifestyle, it became a long-distance romance. That was about to change when Robert visited Lynda in Monte Carlo, where she was performing at the sporting club.
Somehow she had arranged with the venue that if I would fly into Paris, they would have a helicopter fly me down. Very elegant, I might say. Pretty fast company for me.
We were staying at the Hotel de Paris, and he said, I want to talk to you before we go out to dinner after the show.
When we got back to the hotel, I had arranged it so there was champagne on ice and candles, and I asked her to marry me then.
And I said yes, and it was, you know, it was great.
On January 29th, 1984, Lynda and Robert were married in an elegant and extraordinary wedding.
Our wedding was an unusual event. East meets West.
Bob Mackie made my gown, and it was very kind of understated, but beautiful gown. It was this whole crew of East Coast guys, mostly lawyers.
I can remember Robert being a little bit, I think, taken aback with all of the Hollywood scene and the people that were there.
Lynda and Robert's wedding was the most beautiful, elegant wedding that I've ever been to.
She sang Great Balls of Fire about him, and it was just terrific. It was a wonderful moment.
Jerry Lee Lewis, move over. She was good.
Shortly after her wedding, Lynda accepted the lead in a series called Partners in Crime with her friend Lonnie Anderson. The show was shot in San Francisco.
We were both the ex-wives of the detective who was killed in the first episode, and he left us his agency if we remained as detectives together.
It was a great experience, really, because of her.
It was so tough on Lynda to be away from her new husband. She talked about him all the time. They talked on the phone all of the time, and she missed him like crazy. It was a really tough thing to do to a new marriage.
It was a brutal time because every Friday evening, almost without exception, I would head to the airport, fly across country. Then we would usually fly down to Los Angeles, get in very late, spend Saturday in L.A. By Sunday, she's studying her lines for the next week, and I'm heading back.
And that ended after 13 episodes, which was fine, too. You know, and I must tell you that I realized after doing that series how incredible it was that the first series I ever tried was as big a hit as Wonder Woman.
With the end of Partners in Crime came the true beginning of Lynda's new life with Robert. Little did she know that her marriage was about to be tested by a scandal that threatened to destroy everything.
It was the most frightened I've ever been. I couldn't breathe.
Welcome back to an intimate portrait of Lynda Carter. I'm Mary Hart. In 1985, at the age of 34, Lynda Carter left the limelight of Hollywood to join her husband, Robert Altman, in Washington, D.C.
Lynda enmeshed herself real quickly in trying to learn all of the political agendas so that she could identify with Robert and his work more.
She was quickly embraced by the town. You don't have many actresses living here. A lot of people, of course, wanted to meet her. A lot of people wanted her to come to their charity events.
When she walks into a room decked out in Washington at any of these dinners, people just go, wow, you know? And underneath it is just such a really smart lady.
It was fun, and I really was so intrigued and so naive about Washington.
Lynda and Robert were the toasts of the town, but the couple began to feel that something was missing.
She always had that maternal side to her, and I think she always really wanted children. So I think it was just waiting for the right time and the right person.
I got pregnant right away, found out it was a boy. And going through the name thing and all of that, and nothing sounded right to me. And then I had purchased a couple of pieces of art by James Wyeth. And I thought, that's it, Jamie. And so named him James Clifford after Clark Clifford, Robert's law partner.
On January 14th, 1988, Lynda and Robert welcomed their son, James Clifford Altman, into their lives. The couple was overjoyed.
It was a miracle, I thought. I really believed in miracles. He was so special and has just enriched our lives, so.
I just didn't think the human heart had that capacity to be blissful over some little thing another person does.
After a few years, Lynda and Robert decided to have another child. Lynda had hoped for a girl. Their wish was granted on October 7th, 1990, when Lynda gave birth to Jessica Carter Altman.
She is the most fascinating female that I have ever known, or probably will ever know. My daughter is sunny, tenacious, complicated and yet not complicated. She's got a head on her shoulders. She enjoys life.
In 1991, with Jessica only a year old and Jamie aged 3, Lynda re-teamed with Wonder Woman producer Doug Kramer to star in a television movie based upon Danielle Steele's novel Daddy. Lynda's portrayal of a woman caught in a whirlwind romance won her rave reviews.
You can always count on a Danielle Steele book. And they were doing really well, and they're always about women.
There was just something about that role that I think just captured the essence of who she is as a person.
Lynda was on top of the world when a banking scandal threatened to destroy her family. On September 11th, 1991, Robert Altman and his law partner Clark Clifford were accused by the American government of perpetrating a multi-million-dollar fraud involving their client, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, or BCCI. They found themselves at the center of a federal case involving a complicated cast of international investors. Robert had everything to lose: his livelihood, his family, even his freedom.
When the whole BCCI scandal began, I think on Lynda's part, there was some sense of disbelief, some shock that accompanies your world being turned upside down. And amazingly, I suppose, never was there any element on Lynda's part, never any suggestion, how did you get us into this mess?
There's no in-between ground. There's no status quo, you know, rolling merrily along or anything. You're either together or you're not.
The indictment of the well-respected lawyers Robert Altman and his partner Clark Clifford, former Secretary of Defense under President Johnson, sent a shockwave through the community.
Well, we were shocked because, you know, I knew him from running the bank, and I had my accounts at his bank, and I told many people that said it publicly, if Robert Altman asked me to give him all the money I had to invest, I'd give it to him. I had total faith in him.
I think that BCCI thing was one of the worst cases of the government trying to interfere with something that they didn't really know what was going on, but they figured they'd spend millions of dollars trying to find out.
Before the case went to trial, Robert was presented with a deal that required him to plead guilty to a crime he did not commit.
The government had gone in and seized all our assets. Everything we owned, credit cards, bank accounts, we didn't have a penny. The deal was you can walk away. No prison, your life will be returned, but you've got to plead guilty to a count. You've got to raise your hand and say you did something wrong.
Robert told me this, and I said, well, why would you do that?
And I said, well, Lynda, if we go to trial and for whatever reason, jury doesn't like us, they don't understand, they're confused, if for whatever reason the trial goes against us, I'm in prison and you're on the street. They've seized everything.
And I said, well, what would you do if we were not in the picture, me and the kids? And he'd say, you know, I'd tell them all to go to hell, and I'd fight it. Even if I don't care what happened, I would fight it to the final chapter. So I said, there's no reason for you to do any different than you would do. We should not be a hindrance. We should be a help to you. And we're behind you, so go for it.
Together, Robert and Lynda decided to fight the government case. Lynda's support never wavered, and she attended the trial on a daily basis.
It was difficult because we had 2 small children, and that meant me living in New York during the week and leaving my children here. That was tough. But I felt it was more important for me to be there, and if this jury had to be sitting there day in and day out, forever, however long it took, and they didn't see me there, I just thought that you know, Robert would have been all right. He obviously would have understood, but I didn't think the jury would.
So it was a difficult and very trying time, very expensive for the family, and she was incredibly strong. She was Tammy Wynette, stand by your man, you know, and she did.
And it was just, gosh, a real soul-searching time when everybody had to draw on every strength within them to get through it, because we just didn't know what was going to happen.
I didn't know how our family was going to be or how we could live without Robert. How I could live without him. How could my children live without him?
The government put on a 5-month case. We put on a 5-minute defense called no witnesses. Very unusual. The jury retired and came back, and you're asked to stand, you face this jury, and your whole life is going to change one way or another based on what these people say.
And all I saw was Robert telling me that no matter what happened, it was going to be okay.
I always had faith, as did she, that we would come out the other end and be all right, and I told her that.
It's the most terrified I've ever been in my life. And the jury filed in, and they wouldn't look at me. And the foreperson looked at the prosecutor, and she almost spit the words out. She said, "Not guilty."
Well, I could have kissed those jurors, of course. Lynda and I were just overwhelmed with feelings of relief, joy, gratitude.
I knew it all along, but I didn't know it. I didn't know what was going to happen.
And I got one of the first calls from him when the verdict came in, and Lynda was happy and screaming on the phone. He was on the phone with me, but he always had confidence through that too.
After the acquittal, Lynda and Robert acknowledged the high profile of the case and appeared on Larry King Live to share their experiences.
I think that you really do have to stand strong and stand up for what you believe in, and help your loved one to stand up for what he believes in, and fight this with your whole soul and your whole mind.
Did you ever feel like just screaming, which is something no one who knows you could imagine?
I did when the verdict came in.
You did? You actually did what? Yay?
And I let out a scream. It had been 2.5 years, and the nightmare had ended.
They're a very cohesive unit. The Carter-Altman marriage, I would be shocked if it didn't last.
Lynda had stood by her man and triumphed over the BCCI case. In the coming months, she would revitalize her career in a way that would defy expectation.
It was an interesting thing to do, and it was also the taboo that I like to expose.
You're watching an intimate portrait of Lynda Carter. I'm Mary Hart. In 1993, with the trauma and chaos of the BCCI trial behind them, Lynda Carter and her husband Robert Altman turned their focus to rebuilding their family life.
We have now put some distance, a considerable distance actually, between us and those rather dreadful days. And our marriage is clearly stronger for the experience, so some good comes of everything.
Like any tragedy, and it was a bona fide tragedy in anyone's marriage, you either become stronger or you don't make it.
The next year, Lynda was presented with the lead in a new series entitled Hawkeye, to be filmed in Vancouver, Canada.
Stephen J. Cannell called and was interested in developing a show for Lynda. And she thought it was an incredible idea because it was a period piece, and it was just different than anything she'd ever done before.
It was a great character, and I thought that I could balance this. I have the kids out there for the summer.
It was kind of an adventure because of the series. They had built a fort out in the middle of this rugged countryside, so my son in particular loved it. Cannons and soldiers marching about.
But with the demands of the series, Lynda realized she was sacrificing time with her family.
It was the most miserable time of my life. I have come to the conclusion that I cannot be separated from my family.
Family comes first, her children, her husband, vacations. Things are always thought out around how the kids are going to be a part of this holiday.
They used to have a great Christmas. They gave presents to everybody who came. They invited the world. The world. I mean, 100 people would be there at Christmas, and the kids would sit around, and they'd take all these Christmas trees, and it was beautifully decorated, even though he's Jewish.
Lynda continued to work, but chose projects that allowed her to maintain time with her family. In 1998, Lynda would break taboos in Family Blessings, a television movie in which she portrayed the love interest of a younger man.
It was like a little, shock to her system, in a fun way. Having a romance with a guy that was like 26 or 27 years old. We'd tease Robert, her husband. Well, she's going to work with this, young leading man.
Yeah, I have seen every film Lynda has made. I tend to like the ones without the love scenes, but that's just me.
And I've always sort of played down this sex symbol thing. I really, if you look back, I really have avoided it and tried to play realistic ages for my characters. I'd much rather grow old gracefully.
Even with her busy career, Lynda finds time to actively participate in many charities.
The great thing about Lynda is you ask her to help you with a project, and she's sure, absolutely. If she believes in something, she's there.
Lynda has been active in Race for the Cure from the beginning, the Komen Foundation for breast cancer. Any women's health issue, Lynda's testified on the Hill, supporting funding for research on women's health at NIH.
Lynda has just this innate sense of a giving and loving heart. And everyone will tell you that. And there's just a strong sense of goodness that I have grown to really appreciate in my life.
Young girls look up to her to this day. She still gets a lot of letters, and that means a lot to her, that she can show young girls that a woman can be beautiful and strong and intelligent and embody a whole series of admirable qualities.
I wish everybody could know her apart from the camera, because she is the funnest person you could possibly. She has the greatest sense of humor.
Lynda Carter followed her dream and found stardom. But along the way, she discovered her heart's true desire. Today, the warmth and laughter of her children and the happy home she shares with her husband, Robert, are her real fulfillment.
I'm still working. I do a couple movies or a movie every year, and it's plenty right now because I don't want to miss these moments with my children, because all life really is just one giant moment, an eternal moment. I want to try to feel my feet on the ground and my butt in the seat and the way that I feel, and really be here in the moment and try to give that energy and that life in everything I do.
Wonder Woman was one of the first female TV characters who relied on her smarts and strength more than her sex appeal. With that role, Lynda influenced a generation of women who learned from her to be self-reliant and strong. Though it has been more than 20 years since the show aired, Lynda is still seen as a superhero. I have more than Wonder Woman, though, says Lynda. I have love and 2 beautiful children. Sounds pretty wonderful to us. For Intimate Portrait, I'm Meredith Vieira.
Next, anyone can be the bad guy because these stories are all too real. Unsolved Mysteries is next, and you may have the clue to solve one right here on Lifetime.